So, hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. How have you been? I hope you've been okay. And if you've not been okay, that's fine also. So, welcome to today's show. And today's episode, I'll be talking about um, unapologetic single woman. Yes, unapologetic single woman and how to live single and fulfilled. How to live single and fulfilled. A lot of people are in actually in this shoes, so and we're going to really talk about it. And joining this conversation today, I have a lovely guest with me, by the name of Layo Tai Demuren. And Layo Tai Demuren is a transformational change professional with 20 years experience working within the professional and financial services sector. She carries a wealth of experience working in portfolio and project management roles within FTSE 100 firms, helping organizations making the right investment decisions. She's also the co-founder of an up-and-running premium image consultancy brand known as Let's Dress You Up. And you can see she's looking fly, Let's Dress You Up, which she runs with her identical twin sister. Can you imagine? They come in two package, double package. So, and then when Lyle takes off her career hat, she spends a lot of time of her time, pursuing her first love, writing, and goes by the alias the unapologetic single mom. Unapologetic single mom. Her poetry has featured in several coffee table editions across the world. She is a mother of two gifted children and has spent a lot of time working with charitable organizations in her community, mentoring young women in abusive relationships on a regular basis. Lyle credits her successes in life to have faith in God, a strong family support network, and a zest for life. She is a lover of God, self, and family. So thank you so much for joining me today.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm delighted to be here. Oh my God, that was quite a long bio. But
Yeah.
I think if there's a takeaway, really, I think the last sentence sums me up. Lover of God, self, and family.
Yeah.
The rest was just, a little bit of, I guess, feel for who I am and my background. But
Yeah.
really, if you're taking away anything today, I would just say Laya or Taiwo is a lover of God, self, and family.
So thank you so much. Thank you for coming and to join me in this conversation. So we're going to have a good time today. And let me tell you something. Actually, for part of the thing that actually, I will tell you how I got to know you.
Okay.
We were having an interview with the Lagos mom on IG on Instagram Live.
Yes.
I think from the title, I was like, unapologetic single mom, woman. I was like, whoa. I was like, unapologetic. I'm going to follow this person. I was like, because the title alone says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That name alone says a lot. It's like unapologetic. So I'll just dive right into it. Why did you come up with that name? And just tell us a bit about that.
A bit about that. Okay, so I actually, and you'll notice that you've used unapologetic single mom and unapologetic single woman interchangeably.
Yeah.
So the story is really interesting. I was a lady who got married in my 20s and found myself single in my 30s. And for me, I think I was very keen to not be put into a box and to not let society dictate what my future narrative was going to be, because obviously I had found myself as a mature single woman, or to put it actually, to drive it home, a single parent or a single mom who was parenting children by herself. So I was keen that society had all these labels, all these expectations, all these stamps that they put on you because they feel that you're in this situation. And if particularly you come from a background where there's people who look like you and I, so more of an African background or heritage, and there's even more stigma and more of a label that society places on you. And I was very keen not to have any labels placed on me. So I think the unapologetic single mom was kind of my inbred rebellion to say, hang on, yes, I might be a single mom, I might be raising children on my own, but you know what? I don't want any barriers. I don't want to be put in a box. I just want to be able to self-express. I have high expectations and high hopes for what I'm going to achieve, regardless of this situation. And I really want to shout about it and make, no bones about it, no apologies about where I am, because like there's something that I always say, and you'll find it quoted on my Instagram page, which is the journey is just as important as the destination. So for me, being a single mom is a journey. The destination is, further down the line, but I'm going to enjoy every single bit of it. And so I decided to start writing. Writing is something that I've done. And I used to have a blog called Broken but Healed. And when I closed down that blog, I just thought, you know what, I still want to write. And social media Instagram has provided you with an outlet to reach people who may be in a situation like you, but don't have an outlet, can't really express themselves. So I'm just looking for a place where they feel at home, a safe house. And so I started writing as the Unapologetic Single Mom.
Wow.
And that came with a lot of its own, I guess, I'd say challenges, a lot of comments. A lot of people friends and family didn't really understand. Why would you want to label yourself as a single mom? Why would you want to label yourself, but I was convicted. I had that conviction about it. And I guess as I moved through my 30s and as I went through the journey, I turned 40 a few years ago, and I thought to myself, do you know what, actually, there's more to me than being a mom. And there'll be lots of women in my situation who actually will identify with me, but who also maybe have found themselves and really want to express their womanhood, the complete entity of who they are. And so I said, you know what? I'm not only a single mom, I'm a woman. I'm a woman who's a single mom. I'm a woman who's an entrepreneur. I'm a woman who's a lover of God. I'm a woman who is gifted and likes writing, who's passionate about fashion. And there's so much to me. And so I rebranded as the Unapologetic Single Woman. So that's how we've come to this name and everything that it encompasses. Really,
I think it's very brave. It's very, very brave of you to actually do that. Especially like in a society where, especially in Nigeria, or there's this stigma, there's this silent stigma, even between ladies. They want to flog their ring or they say my that my husband did this, I'm in a relation, blah 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 blah, but it's very, very important to actually speak your truths, and it's very important to not be so bow down your head because you have gone through so many favorable situations in life, and I think that's actually what I want to bring out in today's show, that like speak your own truth. Speak your own truth. Be confident about it. Oh yeah, this is what what you just said. A lot of people, there are some people that are I don't know, they've probably married before, and then something happened. There's nothing, and it didn't work out or whatever. But they're not really, bold enough to come out to say, oh, sorry, it's not working, and this is what it is, and you move on, and we become many, many things during our lifetime. So if anybody that is watching, this is just to encourage everyone to speak your truth. Actually, I want to ask a question. How did you gain that confidence? How did you become very bold to be able to do that?
There's something about, I think there's partly something innate in us. I will say that probably I've always been wired to be confident, but I'll also say that a lot of it has to do with, personally for me, what I believe is nurturing, which is I was nurtured by a very confident mom. I think by virtue of the fact that I was raised in a home and I had lots of confident role models, I just grew up a confident person. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was younger, when I was in my, my very, single digit years, I was a scrawny, very light-skinned, scrawny little girl, but I think I just always had this aura of self-importance. I always loved myself. I always had a positive self-image. I was, I went to a school where, yes, some of the children were not particularly nice. And even through my secondary school years, I did have experiences where people, didn't understand so many things. I was sort of a late bloomer, so to say. But those things never affected me. I think I always knew that the sum total of who I was wasn't defined by my physical appearance. And so I was able to put that aside. The sum total of who I am was defined by who I knew I was, who God said I was, and and what I believed that I could bring to every interaction and every equation. So, they say people can only give what they have. And I feel very privileged and very fortunate that I grew up in a home where self-confidence and self-affirmation was really our daily bread. There's nothing you couldn't do. You were pushed to be a better version of yourself. But maybe for people who haven't had that kind of privilege or privileged background, you might be saying to yourself, oh, but I don't feel confident. And I think it really starts with self-love. It starts with looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, yeah, I might have a failed marriage under my belt. I might have a teenage pregnancy under my belt. I might have, failed relationships under my belt. I might have so many things, I might be a victim of, I don't know, sexual violence, physical violence. I might be orphaned. Whatever life experience I've had does not define who I am. I think that is really the starting point. And the moment that you go on a journey of self-discovery and you find out who you are, it becomes easy for you to be bold, because it means that no matter what people are saying to you, you just have this deep conviction that, you know what, I am Layo and I am enough. I am enough. I am not my experiences. My experiences happened to me, and I've come through, or I'm going through, or I'm passing through, or I am going to come out, and I'm going to come out better for it. And that is the lens with which I look at life. And I certainly, that was the lens that I certainly used to navigate my 30s, which I will say was a very traumatic and difficult time for me as a lady.
Wow. Oh Lord, that is loaded. Something that just came to me. I was trying to get the pen to write, but I can't, and it's like, don't park at the place of your pain. Park at the place of your pain, or even your mistake, or whatever that happened. A lot of people, and I do see, it's so sad because we have so much life ahead of us. But because something happened or whatever, we park at that place. And actually, I want to go back again to even parents, or even, having a home, a safe family, that whereby if it doesn't work, if it didn't work, it can always come back home. You have that, like they set you up, they bring you up, as you're saying, confident, like your parents, a confident mom, they were like, we should prepare our children. These are also for parents too.
Yeah.
That whatever happens in the world, whatever happens in your life, know that how to navigate it. Because sometimes, they tell us that, okay, if it doesn't work, you have to die there. It's true. It is true. Recently, I did I facilitated an online healing group, ladies online. So, and some of them were saying that, in our culture, women are encouraged to stay in bad marriages, because it's, marriage, you have to just stay. You keep praying, you pray from yesterday, you pray from today, you pray, you will die, the person will die there. We don't we don't confront. It is true. This is really true. We don't confront things, and we just sweep things under the carpet. And so, when people grow up, they now start, that's why people have a lot of mental issues.
Yeah.
It affects, because they're so disappointed. Like, what is the reality? This is not looking like my life. And a lot of people are actually not happy, dying in silence, So this is a call out to even be brave, speak your truth. Now, my question is, okay, this is so good, and you're saying that, yeah, it's good to be single and it is good to, speak your truth and, speak it and live it. But is it actually okay to be single?
I don't think I'm saying what I'm saying is whatever. I think what I'm saying really, the real point I'm trying to drive home is whatever phase or stage you find yourself in life, single, married, divorced, separated, engaged, whatever it is, just find purpose in that phase and enjoy it. Because will I be single forever? It's my hope that I'll, meet someone, fall in love again, settle down. But actually, is that the sum total of everything the only thing I want for my future? No. So if it happens, great. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still going to have an amazing life, So it's about conditioning your mind. I mean, human beings were built for relationship. We were built to interact with one another. Let's be frank, And even if you look at it from a biblical point of view, we are better together, The Bible talks a lot about, not to pontificate or anything, but the Bible talks a lot about, two heads being better than one. So we know that we need relationships. I think what every relationship brings to you will be different. Your relationships with your siblings, your family, your girlfriends, your tribe, your colleagues, your spouse. So what I would say to people is it is okay to be single. If you find yourself in a situation where you haven't met that person yet that you might want to spend the rest of your life with, just enjoy enjoy where you are. The reality is not everyone will get married.
Yeah.
The reality is not everyone will meet a life partner that suits. And the reality is not every marriage will work.
Right.
So with that lens, whichever pocket you find yourself in, whichever bucket you end up in, I think you just have to really come to terms and come to peace with where you are at and enjoy it. Because there's a lot that can be achieved, and we only hold ourselves back if we think that we are incomplete because we don't have a title that is anything but single, So yes, is it okay to be single? I guess the short answer is yes. Am I propagating that people shouldn't get married or be in relationships? No. Do I feel that there's a place for relationships, romantic and otherwise? Absolutely. And, I said I am a lover of God's self and family. And by family, I don't mean my my family by genetics or my family of origin. I mean, my family is all my friends, all the people that matter to me, my girlfriends, my best friends, my childhood friends. That is what I mean by family. And so relationships are important, and having people in your life that, will root for you, your tribe, they'll support you, they'll be there for you. That is very instrumental.
Yeah.
But can you be single and fulfilled, single and sane, single and happy? Absolutely, you can be.
You can be, and that's where a lot of people too. Actually, my mom too, because my dad and my mom separated when I was like a teenager. So, and then my mom was a single mom for a long time. So I can relate. I know what it is. I know what it is, So I know what it is. It's not easy at all. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And for parents, even let's talk about even single parenting, let's talk about parents because, the job of parenting or even taking care of a child is like for two people,
Yeah.
You know, for me myself, most of the time I even feel like a single parent because my husband is not really here. It's like in the UK. So, most of the time I'm the one like, doing a lot of things and it can be so draining. Like it can be because emotionally, spiritually, your
physically,
everything, so it's like, wow, you're giving, you're constantly giving. So how have you been able, well, you're probably telling me that you have a support system. How have you been able to manage, through all the, the challenges of being, a single mom?
So being a single mom is not glamorous. So I don't want to I don't want people rushing out to say, oh, I can do it.
Yeah.
Of course, everyone can do it.
Yeah.
I really, really believe, my deep conviction is that being a single mom takes a level of grace.
Yeah.
I do believe that, that, you know, if you find yourself in this situation, then grace just comes to be able to do it. And, you know, it takes it takes a village to raise children, a whole village, not even two parents.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're trying to do it on your own, it can be quite tasking emotionally, physically, financially, mentally. It can take it out of you. But, you know, aside from the obvious, which is the support system, there's also something about just taking time out for yourself. And there's also something about taking things one day at a time. And those are the two real things, the two real tips, or the two real, I guess, like techniques that I've applied to my lifestyle that have worked for me. So this is why I say I'm a lover of self. So I start with the premise that if I don't look after myself, if I'm not healthy, if I'm not in a good place mentally, physically, emotionally, health-wise, then I can't be in a good place for the children. So I try to take moments, you know, in the year where I holiday by myself, or, you know, where I go away for a long weekend. I pamper myself as much as I can, spa days, hairdresser, pedicures, you know, just little things, shopping, treats, things that make me feel good, you know, things that make me feel whole, you know, spiritual retreats, things like that, concerts, all the things that I enjoy doing. I make sure that I find time to do them, because a happy mom produces a happy home. And then I think beyond that, when you look at the job of being a single parent, it is a mammoth task. It's like having this mountain to climb and not really having any climbing gear, having no idea, no experience. It's just, you know, it's just one of those things where I say to people, and I say to anyone who comes to me and says, oh, how do I do it? I'm so exhausted. I say to them, look, being a single parent is something where you just have to take it one day at a time. So what by that I mean, literally, you plan for the future. Yes, you have your goals, you have your aspirations, but you realize that the only way you're going to get there is by giving yourself a break. So one day at a time. So today is Monday, and, you know, you set yourself a task for the day, and at the end of the day, you tick them off, or you don't tick some off. And if you don't tick some off, it's also fine. And then, you know, you give yourself credit for where you had triumphs. You celebrate your little victories, and then you move on to the next one. And literally, this is what I have applied to my 10 years of parenting alone. When I started parenting alone, my daughter was not, my youngest was 9 months, and my oldest was about 5.5. And, you know, if you look at the journey today, my youngest is nearly 11. She'll be 11 in a couple of months. And my oldest is 15. He's going to be 16.
Wow.
So it has really been those two things. Practice self-love and take things one day at a time.
Now, I want to go into co-parenting. Co-parenting, because I feel like when relationships kind of break up, you know, most of the time is the female gender. I'm not saying all of the time. And most of that, because most of the time, the female gender, the women in the relationship are the ones that are, you know, left to actually keep nurturing and taking care of the children. They're actually they are single fathers too, you know. So even in this case now, even if it's the single father or the single mother, how can we navigate to actually work with the other party, you know, to co-parent the child? Because I feel like we shouldn't just be letting people go, you know. Like it is true. It is true. We need to be, you see, I realize that if we're going to have this sex, we're talking about sex or whatever, if you're going to have sex, you have to be responsible to actually do what, you know, be able to do whatever the outcome will be. To leave it. So now, when you talk about co-parenting, I know it's a big deal. It's a big
Yeah.
deal. So,
Co-parenting is something that is, oh my God, it's a big elephant. And the unfortunate thing is, you are right. For the most part, relationships disintegrate, people, separate, and the children are the ones who are kind of the ones who suffer the most as a result. So I guess, as they say in family court, we always try to do what is in the best interest of the child. And that should be what is foremost at the mind of every parent. As much as your relationship may have disintegrated with an ex, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Having said that, when we say what is in the interest of the best child, we do have to be realistic and realize that sometimes one of the parents, and I'm not going to be gender specific, it could be the mother or the father in this case, may not be in a situation where they are actually able to give active or positive parenting to the children. And in that case, you would hope that these parents would go away and sort themselves out so that they can play an active, positive role in the life of their child. And I don't see why there should be any reason, if we put what is in the interest of the child at the forefront all the time, but we're human, so let's even say 85% of the time, that we cannot get a situation where both parents and, mom and dad are still playing an active role in the child's life. I think this is where people, Europeans, and people who don't look like you and I, this is where they excel. This is where they excel. The notion of blended families is something that the Europeans have been able to master, rightly or wrongly, and depending on what your religious convictions are, you might say otherwise. But you will see all the time that with the Caucasians, they're able to move on to new relationships and still have a very active role in the lives of their children from previous marriages or previous relationships. In the African context, depending on where you're based, it becomes more difficult, and maybe the way we've been socialized, maybe sometimes the fathers go off and create new families and just completely forget about the family that existed before. But I will also say this, in the situations where either of the parties have tried to play an active role in the life of the children, and for whatever reason it hasn't worked out, I think, for the sake of peace, you just have to kind of let go and let God, And what I will say is, if it's a situation, the only exception that I really make is if it's a situation where the children may come to harm, and by harm I mean either physical or psychological, as a result of having a relationship with that parent, then yes, by all means, go through the legal routes that you need to make sure that you safeguard the children, because at the end of the day, the safety of the children and the well-being of the children is paramount. I'm a big advocate for co-parenting. I'm actually a single mom who is not co-parenting, so my children's father does not have play an active role in the life of the children by choice. But I will also say this to encourage someone. I really feel like they aren't worse off for it, and that is not only down to my parenting skills, or anything. I think it's down to surrounding them with love, filling the home with love, filling the home with role models, male role models, like grandparents, grandfather, uncles, brother-in-laws, and people who they can really look up to as father figures. So I guess that's what I'd like to say, because I know there might be people who will be thinking, I've tried with my ex, but he's not reasonable. I've tried with my ex, she's not reasonable. And we know that relationships disintegrate very quickly and it becomes very difficult. But if we could just put what is in the best interest of the children at the forefront all the time, hopefully we can get co-parenting rights and give the children what they need.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I think, we need to start these conversations because, when we talk about these things, we will not just let it glide, just slide. Because it's like, yeah, she's okay. The person that is taking of the child, she's fine. No, she's
Yeah.
not fine. He is not fine. She's not fine. He might just be looking at all the pretty pictures and everything. It's very overwhelming. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, let's be responsible, as adults.
Mhm.
So, sometimes you might have to make tough decisions that, yes, okay, this my ex cannot have access to because the person is not even, a positive role model to the children,
Yeah.
and they might even harm them. So in that case, we can say that. But in other cases whereby it's not that extreme or something, let us don't just be okay. There are some men, they have children with like 5 women or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, you have made a decision to do that, yes, but be father, play your part.
Be an active father. Yeah.
If you're gonna you have children, yeah, fine, no problem. But play your part in the lives of those children. And it's not only about money, anyways. Even your presence, your time, and everything. So
Yeah.
this is due. We need to talk about all these things. And for me, I don't like just to be like, oh, there's a big elephant in the room, nobody's talking about it. No, I'm going to talk about it. We are going to.
Yeah.
We need to start talking about these things because at the end of the day, it's the children that actually suffer for it.
Yeah.
Like for personally, when my mom and my dad, when they separated, so in my when I was a teenager, so my mom would always say we should not tell our dad anything. So my dad was just like away. So we'll tell him anything. You don't do this, don't do that. So my mom was like our only parent as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So don't tell him this, don't tell him that. And so another thing that we do also, now let's go into this. When our relationship with our partner, when it gets when it disintegrates, we should be careful not to transfer it to the children.
Yes.
By involving the children, we say, your dad was this, oh, your mom was this, oh, da, 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 da. Now it takes a lot of grace and maturity.
Of course.
So how do we actively, protect our children from the conflicts that we have between our exes? I would say,
Like,
that's tough. That's tough.
yeah. Yeah, like you say, it takes a lot of maturity, it really does. And depending on why the relationship disintegrated in the first place and how, the ages of the children and how much they were exposed to, then, that begins to influence a lot of things. I'm a big advocate for therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually, for this year, one of the goals that I've set myself is family therapy. And just not because of anything, but I just think it'll be nice to sit down and have a chat and give both the children and myself an opportunity to express ourselves and to express, I suppose, how the impact of not having a father in the household, how that has impacted them, how it makes them feel, and all those sorts of things. So I'm a big advocate for openness. I'm a big advocate for talking about things in the family unit, and I'm a big advocate for being open. I'll tell you this, I strongly believe that, character is something that will always show itself. It's only a matter of time. So as much as it's possible, we don't really, I think for moms and dads who are single parents, you don't really need to sort of tear each other down, and go for character assassination where your exes are concerned.
Character assassination. Wow, I've never heard that.
But I think the reality is who you are will show itself.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're a very good, if you're a terrible mother, it will reveal itself to the children over time. If you're a terrible father, it will reveal itself to the children over time. And on the converse, if you're a great father or a great mother, it will also reveal itself to the children over time. So just let time do its work. And the children that we're raising are very, very switched on children. They're emotionally switched on and they're intellectually switched on, and they can make deductions themselves. And I think over time they will decide and they'll be able to decipher what they get from each parent and if it is beneficial enough, and we will get what we put into the children back as well. So that will be it. Now, I know it's easier said than done. And in practice, it's not like I don't, I make no bones about it. I really do not care for my ex, for example. But I don't think I really had to say much to my children about him. I think by his own behavior and his own actions, they've been able to make their own deductions. And, it will be up to them to decide based on those deductions, the kind of relationship that they might want to have with him in the future, if any. So yeah, just let time do its work. I think time and the truth, they have no hiding place. The truth will always reveal itself eventually, if we can just be a bit patient and wait for it.
Yeah. Wonderful. I think, we've touched on so many points today, and I'm glad you mentioned therapy, because I feel like in our kind of Africanness and in our clique, feel like, therapy. What do you need therapy for? You're not mad.
Or bury it under religion. Just pray. And there's a place for prayer. There is a place for prayer. Prayer lifts you. It connects you to God. It gives you hope and all that. But there's also a place for other things, that can help. Talking, conversation, therapy, support groups, things like that. Those also help as well and provide an outlet.
I recently did a diploma in counseling and psychology. So that kind of, enlightened me into the wow, exploring our feelings and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh. A lot of things that even our parents even had then, we didn't know the name to put to it.
Yes.
It was what they were going through. Oh, this person is grieving. Oh, this is what it is. Oh, anger management. Oh, it is, we don't know. You understand? So all of this therapy thing is a tool to answer prayer, to be able to explore your feelings.
Yes.
This is what it is. You feel a bit anxious today. Okay, what is going on?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not for mad people.
Yes, exactly. As we were led to believe when we were growing up.
It is important. It is very important to, and you see, I will read a phrase that I like a paragraph that I found from one of the books of one of the author of the guest in the last show. He said, when looking at the family structure, our society has set up home within functioning chaos, causing its citizens to live malfunctioning, bruised and damaged. Chaotic chords and strands of abnormality have since passed through generations and eras. The average individual will live a knotted soul until their end. Very few will experience the unknotting and truly live free. However, in Christ, we learn that whom the Son sets free is truly free indeed.
That's great.
That part where she said, very few will experience the unknotting and truly live free.
Yeah.
It is so true. How many people live? When we talk about, living single, part of it, living single and free and free. Within yourself, you have that clear energy. You're not, it's, oh my God. How many
you're just doing you.
Yeah, you're doing you. You're doing you. You're not in competition with anybody. You're oh my God. I feel like that is the abundant life, really.
It is.
Not a lot of people get to that point. But it should be a decision. For the end of the show, it should be a decision. Do you have anything to say to that? Let me just let you say something before. Do you have anything to say?
I'm agreeing with you. Yes, I love the fact that you say it should be a decision. Yes, you have to be intentional about the kind of life you want to create for yourself. Do I want to be a miserable single person just waiting on Romeo to come, or on his white horse, or a knight in shining armor and rescue me and give me this life and this place in society and this title? Or do I want to be intentional about creating the future that I want and being happy regardless, and taking those amazing holidays and, making amazing memories with my friends and my family and my children, pursuing my dreams, living my life, exploring myself, discovering who I am, looking after my mental and physical health? What do I want to be? Then you just be intentional about it. And, Rome wasn't built in a day, so it won't happen overnight. But I think little consistent steps will help you. Okay, so, I'm going to, get my nails done, I don't know, once a month. I'm going to treat myself to a pedicure, or I'm going to go on a holiday once a year, or I'm going to go for a weekend retreat or a spiritual retreat once a quarter. Just little micro steps that you take towards living the intentional life. I'm going to take a course. I'm going to go on a writing course. I'm going to design some clothes, whatever it is. Just take that step, little intentional steps, and you'll get to your destination eventually.
So make that is that the point is you have to decide for yourself.
Yeah.
For yourself. And we have one phrase: value your life. Value your life. Your life matter. Value your life. And also another thing I also advocate for is seek healing. Yeah, life can break us. Life can wound us.
Yeah.
They can. Oh my God, your heart to be broken like this. You say, hey.
Life happens, and it is meant to, actually.
Yeah, life happens, but it's okay. It's okay. Personally, you understand what I'm saying? Life happens, but it's okay. I made up my mind. I said, well, I don't want to be miserable for the rest of my life. Hey, no, I'm not doing that. No way. I'm not going to let anything steal my joy. I'm very joyful. So, you have to make that decision for yourself. Life is worth living. If you're going to live free, live happy, live whole, make that decision for yourself. Then also, I want to talk about, the part that the female gender play in actually helping people to live a more simple and fulfilled life. Because, I put here, where's that question? I put here that, how can the female gender support one another and stop the unhealthy competition of always wanting to paint a picture of a perfect life? Yeah, it happens in our clique.
Yeah, that's a loaded one. Yeah. I honestly don't feel like, I think this is, one person won't have the answer to it all. But you know what? I think just being kind to one another, just literally, it's not rocket science, and it's such a simple thing, but just being kind to one another and extending grace to one another. Throughout our lives, we will all go through different journeys. We'll all go through different highs and lows. So, you might be up today and somebody else might be down today, and you might be down tomorrow and somebody else might be down today. But what kindness does is it's like a soothing balm. It releases something that helps the other person in the face of their adversity to feel better about themselves. And, I think the moment we realize, I'm just looking out of I mentioned earlier on, I'm facing the window so I can see the skyline. Yeah. And I've just, out of the corner of my eye, I've been seeing loads of birds flapping around. Yeah. It's really beautiful, quite picturesque. And, these birds are occupying the same space, but, they're just there. They're just flying. They're just existing and coexisting. And it's always been like that. Mm. And I think the moment we realize that life is not a competition, then we ourselves start to bring positive energy to our interactions. I say to people, people say, oh, women get their hair done, women get their nails done, women get their bodies done. And I say, not for men. Women do this because the wiring is such that we are competing with one another. Men make the mistake and they think it's because you want a man to, you're trying to get male attention. On the contrary, for most women, it's because we are, whether knowingly or unknowingly, subconsciously competing. So I think it's really about realizing where the landscape is and making a conscious effort to be kind to one another and to love yourself, because when you love you can only give what you have. When you love yourself, you are compelled to love others. When you're positive about yourself, you're compelled to be positive about other people. And if you've been graced to have a perfect life, a happy home, a wonderful husband, and children who are wonderful as well, just celebrate it, but celebrate it in your own truth, in your own way. And, let your life be a beacon, a positive, something for someone to look to or aspire to, rather than, I guess, using it as a stick to beat those who may not be privileged enough to be in the situation that you find yourself in today. I really believe people know the right thing to do, but whether we choose to do it is a different thing.
Whoa. Beautiful, beautiful. I feel like this session, this episode, I can just see a lot of light. The conversation's very, the energy is clear. It's a positive energy. It's and it's I like it to be to provoke people to actually live better.
Yeah.
Provoke people to actually come on, switch on the light bulb. Come on.
Yeah, make a change. Make a change.
Yeah, you can live a better life. You can live a more joyful life. You can live a more happy life. Let's do it. We can do it. So we're cheering you on. You can cheer you on. So no matter what it is, look at my guest today. I mean, she's shining bright. Yeah,
In spite of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I got all dressed up. I was like, you know what? It's such a shame. After this show, I'm just going to take it all off and get back into bed because there's nowhere to go. But you know what? I might take a couple of cheeky selfies and then.
Yeah.
But we life will test us, and I think I always say to myself that growing up, I grew up in such a loving home, surrounded by such positive, loving role models, and I never in a million years would have thought that I would be a single mom or parenting on my own or divorced by the age of 31 or have gone through domestic violence. So many things that I never thought, but actually my life is richer. My stories are more colorful, and my gratitude is immense, because when I think about all those things and I look at myself and I'm sort of like, oh, I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm still beautiful, I'm still winning. Yes, I have my days where I'm like, oh, I feel flat, and that's fine. That's normal. It's okay to have an off day, but on the whole, the good days are better than the bad days. And I'm just amazed. Sometimes I think, oh, what if everything had gone smoothly and there'd be no hiccups? Would I have an appreciation for life the way that I do now? And the answer is probably no. So it's just being grateful, finding purpose in your pain, and trying to use your own life experiences to be a beacon for other people. And that's why I write as the Unapologetic Single Mom. That's why I'm very, very big about sharing my own life experiences, my highs and my lows, most importantly, so people can relate and take something away.
Yeah. Thank you so much. To be honest with you, from another woman to actually, let me just say another. I want to call myself a girl. Well,
you're a woman. But there's a girl in every woman.
Yeah, from another woman to you, thank you so much for sharing your truth, for being transparent.
It's been absolutely amazing. I've had an amazing time.
You're cheering us to be able to, voice out and speak your truth, because sometimes, when we go through life experiences, it kind of takes our voice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people's voice have been kind of quieted or muted, through their life journey. So, but for you to increase the volume, speak your voice, you have your voice. So you're cheering everybody on, life might just happen on you and you're like, oh my God, but you're not overwhelmed by it. You're not destroyed by it. You're not, you don't allow all of those things to weigh you down or whatever. In spite of it, you are bold enough and confident enough to say, yes, this is what it is, and I'm going to make better decisions. I'm going to so I thank you so much. Thank you so much for.
Thank you for having me. I feel blessed, and thank you for giving people a platform to come and share, and being a light to people out there. I feel really privileged, and thank you to everyone.
If anybody wants to follow you on your social media platform, so what is your?
So my social media handle is at the Unapologetic _Single Woman. It's all one word, Layo Tai Demuren. And if you also want to follow me on my fashion page and the business that
I didn't ask you about that, please, because you're all very, colorful. So tell us about that one. Yeah.
So it's a premium image consultancy brand. I'm an identical twin, and I run a business with my sister called Let's Dress You Up. And really, what it is, it's I guess an offshoot of what I'm trying to do on the Unapologetic Single Woman platform, but in a different way. We help women to discover themselves. We help them to express and bring the best version of themselves to the world through the way that they dress. So it could be, the workplace, it could be in your home, in your marriage, amongst your friends, just to help you bring that best version of yourself to the equation. And this blouse that I'm wearing was designed by my humble self, our team, one of the blouses we carry in our collection. And we're just doing amazing things. The handle is at Let's Dress You Up. So we offer occasion styling, we offer image branding, we offer personal shopping, and we offer bridal styling as well. So please feel free to.
Do you offer your services to people outside of Nigeria?
Oh, yes, we do. So we have clients in the Middle East, Europe, the Americas, and Africa.
Okay.
South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Abidjan. So yes, it's a global world we live in, and technology allows us to reach our clients all over the world. So we're not restricted to a particular demographic. We're citizens of the world, and we aim to serve everyone. So please look us up at Let's Dress You Up or www.letsdressyouup.co.uk.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Please, everybody, let's support our sister here. Let's dress here. We can see colorful, and when you dress up too, and it says something about what you represent. Your fly, your energy, your colors. You see, you brighten up people. That's yes, women. That's another way we can actually help one another. Brighten one another. So thank you so much. This has been a very, very interesting conversation today. So I hope you learned one or two things, to live your life and be unapologetic about it. Be unapologetic. Live your truth, speak your truth, and with the help of God, you can live a more fulfilling and a joyful life. So until we meet again, until our next episode again, thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, or share this video for anybody that's going to watch, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.